do you do? My name's Steve Beebe. I'm the Community Chaplain for Mission Australia in Dandenong. I've been asked to speak a little bit about what the face of resilience looks like. Well, let me begin with a very quick story that's stayed with me ever since I was about 16. I remember that my next door neighbour was a bricklayer, and at that time he was in his mid to late 50s. And I remember having a conversation with him out the front in our driveways, and he was unpacking his truck and he had enough. It looked like he had enough of the day. But anyway, we got talking and he started telling me about, I've got to do something else. This is killing me. It's creating a lot of trouble in his body. He was tired. It's taken its toll. And so as a 16-year-old kid, I was thinking of all these ways to advise him what to do. And so I suggested, why don't you do something else? Why don't you get another job? I do remember those aspects of the conversation. But what has stayed with me was that he replied with, what else do I do? This is what I do. This is what I know. This is what I do well. What other options are there? And then he went on to tell me about his commitments, of course, his commitments to his family. The job pays well. Where would he find a job that would pay similar as someone who's untrained and all this sort of stuff? So he keeps going. He's got to keep going to work. He's got financial commitments. He's got family commitments, this and that, the other, whilst it's taking its toll on his body. He was telling me about the difficulties that he's facing, but his resilience in all this was just his commitments. He's made commitments to, like I said, his family, his financial commitments, and that was what kept him going. And so for me, that conversation has always stayed with me. As a service provider and a community chaplain in my role with Mission Australia, I work with a lot of people in community, and I sit in a holistic space too, those that have been wanting that space with me. And that goes to a place where we talk about challenges and difficulties in their life and how they come through them, how they're experiencing them at the time, and for some continue to. But I do hear for those in their recovery, for those who have probably come through addictions, the challenging things of poor mental health and whatnot, I hear a lot of great resilient stories. One in particular is with a gentleman that I'm currently working with at the moment who has done very well coming through many, many, many years of alcoholism and recreational drug abuse to himself. And of course, there is the medications that I know that he has said to me that has taken all of those addictions, all that relying on those challenging behaviours that come out of addictions have taken their toll. And so before I actually got to know this man, he was on a journey of repair. I would ask him, well, what has been some of the steps you've made in your repair and in your journey? And he says, look, it could even be as small as opening up my curtains in the morning and letting the sun come in, letting the fresh air through the window that I've opened that I never used to. I had my curtains drawn all the time. I had no windows were open. So he's taking these small measures, and not just with his story, but with many, many other stories. What I'm hearing too from where resilience is shining is the fact that they're starting to love themselves again through these tough times. They're discovering just how important they are to themselves and how much they mount. And I find that that's been the real key for a lot of people in their repair and in their resilience, finding that love for them again and keep going, just like that bricklayer. He knew he had responsibilities, he had commitments, he had reason, he had purpose. Though things were taking their toll, though his body was being more and more tired with the cost of the job, he had a purpose and a reason. And of course, he had a love for his family, he had a love for himself, he had enjoyed the fact that what finances can provide for and the luxuries and the privilege that they can also give us. And that's what kept it going. But in this space, as a community service provider, sitting in the intimate space with community, one of the most key elements to a person's resilience is their love for themselves again, which is definitely required in our repair. Whether it's a thought mentally, whether it's an action, whether it's opening up the curtains and small measures like this to begin with, turn into big things for us. I just would like to read you a little encouraging verse from the book of Galatians found in the Bible in chapter 6 from verse 9 and 10. Two little small verses. It says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have the opportunity, let us do good to all people." That includes you. Thank you.